Welcome back YouTubers to my channel of an everyday encounter in an ordinary life of an Aspie. As you guys have been aware that I've been doing some more of the learning disability series right now of Show Us How It's Done. Basically, in all further ado, like as I said in some of the pieces previously, that sometimes with some teachers sort of thing, they find it really hard to actually adapt and actually learn from those students that has a learning disability, or just to make life harder for the ones that are, you know, different towards us despite it all. Even though we know basically at the end of the day we need to realize that we need to just create an awareness and understanding, like, oh, here I am today presenting to you all about certain bits and pieces based on my life experiences, on my journey and my life story of basically schooling versus everything else that's out there right now, that will give you a clearer, better understanding, even though we've got to bear in mind that everyone's different on the autism spectrum disorder scale. So in full ado, this is probably part 4 or 5 basically on my channel, which is, you know, Show Us How It's Done. And this one's basically labelled as the learning environment. You know, how safe is the learning environment, I might call it, I'm not sure yet, on how it's going to be addressed to you all. Right, as you know, a learning environment is an important key factor for kids learning, be it if they have a learning disability or not. The learning environment needs to be a safe haven for kids, not to be judged or pretty much criticised or just put down to a T that they're slow, or whatever label mentality that some people may do, be it the teachers, lecturers that surround them, or even just the students themselves. It's all about supporting one another in that learning environment, hopefully that, so it gives us the chance to learn and grow and develop into an individual that we need to be, as well as basically just the point of no return, that we can create a better future for ourselves as well as the ones that doesn't have a learning disability. Learning environment also has a few key factors to the acronyms that I have researched right now, which one of them is abbreviated down to PRES, which this stands for Pragmatic Learning Environment. What this entails is you've got to keep learning stuff over and over again so that it's repetitive in your mind, so that when it comes to everyday tasks that we do in our everyday lives, regardless what it may be, that we can actually just go about our merry way and just hopefully succeed through that. Our full PRES is a relationship. This is important. We need to build a relationship between students regardless of a learning disability or not. This will help us to actually grow in the foundations that is important, getting to know the learning styles of obviously the child with the learning disability or not, hearsay, and also pretty much awesome with this relationship. You can always greet and talk to the students by interacting with them outside class time, pretty much get involved in their everyday activities, maybe to see what they're like, building a character profile about them, and that's about character building obviously, which is important in this day and age as well. Also, when it comes down to this relationship building part of it, however, we've got to bear in mind that we need to make them feel included, not excluded. Get involved with their activities and make sure that you actually involve them in the everyday curriculum activities that you may have installed in that program or schedule that you have throughout the day. E, obviously, is environmental. Like the question that you need to ask yourself in this environmental stage of the PRES, of this acronym, is, does everything around them connect with them in the environment they're in? What I mean here is basically what the connection of the environment is to, are they interacting with you and engaging with you as well as engaging with the students no matter what it is, so to speak. And last and not least, spatial. Most of the students may learn through spatial kind of learning. We learn best in a vivid kind of environment, which is, you know, tactile. Some of us are real good tactiles. Some are just thinkers and creators in their own way of writing. Some are maybe creative in their way of just, you know, hearing by ear by music, and they'll just play music, or even acting, and they can just have it all in their head of the script that they want to say, even if they're inside their head, as I said previously in one of my videos, based on the gift of people with learning disabilities. Learning environment continued, however, with another acronym to bear in mind is the words hands. For H is hands up. Give the student a chance to, when you get them to interact or engage with you, to raise their hand, but do not forever push them when they are trying to answer your question, even though you've got to realise that sometimes maybe with students with learning disabilities, some may look at it in a different angle or perspective, but we need to just, hopefully, despite that different angle or perspective, just allow that for an exception, or an exception of a part where despite that difference of their way of thinking, that it's okay to think differently and not think the same like every other one in the class. As I said before, every student learns at a different speed and pace, however. The one for this one also of the hands is arms up. You as a teacher, you've got to be aware of your body language. Some of the students may not be able to read your body language or cue, however, or even just maybe the tone of voice, how you come across, be it angry or sad. You need to be aware that sometimes, like for some learning disability people, they might just take it on board as, you know, in one way you may act like you're happy with the way you wave your hands around them as you interact with them and doing this practical unit with them, and sometimes they'll think, you know, the opposite. N is need to wave off, the need. If students are disruptive or loud, that's when basically you need to wave them off with a particular good signal in your body language, as he said before, what I've said in the A with your body language, but do it in a real considerate manner towards them, because as I said, they'll read it differently towards us no matter what it may be, however it could be. And D for hands is direct eye contact. As we know, eye contact in our everyday language and communication likewise is really important, but however, some students with learning disabilities or just with some conditions that hinders that, you got to just be aware that they're not totally avoiding you. If you are talking directly at you, they are still paying attention, absorbing that information. You'll be surprised, even with that label or judgment call, that you think they're not listening, and then you may call out their name, you know, in the middle of the lesson, and then they may be able to recall it back to you. You know, this is what I've seen so many times in my day and age when I used to be in school, that many of the lecturers sort of thing gave me a hard time basically, and I could almost recall everything in a split second after I wrote the notes down, and they were like, you know, thinking, well, we better stand back, so to speak. Right, last but not least is S. See you after class. Oh yes, the dreaded moment when you hear the teachers going to you, see you after class. Woo! You hear the echoes in the background of the students thinking you're in trouble double the time, you know. Some of the students may think that too, of the learning disability, but if you maybe say it, see you after class, say it in a matter of speaking, that they'll know that by maybe reading your tone, some may be able to pick it up quickly that they are in trouble or not. Then in other times maybe they think they are. But then again, also when it comes down to this last one, make sure you're in a private room when you're talking to that particular student of concern of their learning, and just, you know, pipe up, you know, whoever the name is, I am actually showing interest and concern at this matter of time that you're falling way back of your study. I just would like to know if you're actually struggling or you need a helping hand, sort of thing. Just get to the bottom cause to why this is happening, of why some of them that are falling back, sort of thing, and maybe collect up some information about what you've done today with them, with the course outline and everything, and maybe later on create some extracurricular activities so that they can engage and keep moving forward, so on and so forth. It's also important to talk to students, despite the learning disabilities or not, about their learning behaviour, like their behaviour and attitude towards you while you're teaching, you know. It's also important that they can engage with you back to a feedback system, sort of thing. Allow a feedback system policy, you know, how they feel about the way you teach or what have you, you know, so that maybe you can take on board, maybe it's the way you're teaching them and how you're approaching in their learning style in this way, that maybe you can change something in your books as well. Sometimes we can't always learn what we teach or teach what we learn, so to speak, but it's all a matter of just trying and whatnot. Well, that basically ends like the one based on show us how let's do it, the learning disability of basically the learning environment. On the next one coming up, guys, if you're still following me on the series right now, is the tips and advice for students and maybe teachers alike, or even just parents. Just simple little, hopefully brief guidelines to help your students to learn more and actually engage more in class if they are basically behind or whatever the case may be. Also, another one is also basically how to help them through this and whatnot, hopefully. So in all further ado, please give me the like for the thumbs up and your support. Also give me comments below, basically, of how well I'm maybe doing, because as I said, feedback is important. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. It would be nice to see some more support to create this awareness, understanding of all these everyday topics. Also, private message me on Facebook on AspieAnswersAll on my community page. Pretty much, it's also good to have feedback there, or even if you just want a private talk with me, pretty much, of what's going on in your life, or even just you want to have an everyday topic put in there as a personal one. I'll try and make sure, as I said so many times before, for the ones that do suggest topics, to make sure your name's not said, sort of thing. I'll make sure you guys remain anonymous to this day. So thanks for watching, guys, and if you don't see me soon, have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all soon.